2,000 AI workers lost their jobs in just 1 week last month, not gradually in a single week, and that's only the ones publicly announced. Right now, there's a silent crisis unfolding across the artificial intelligence industry. The companies that raised billions just 2 years ago are now cutting headcount like crazy. But here's what makes this story actually terrifying. These aren't failed companies. These are the winners. OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta. The ones that were supposed to lead us into the AI future. And they're all shedding thousands of talented engineers right now. Why? Because they've built something that costs way more to run than it can possibly make money from. Think of it like buying a Ferrari you can't afford to fuel. Every single time you use it, you're losing money. The AI boom created this illusion that any company with a big language model could print money forever. Investors threw tens of billions at this stuff. Companies hired like mad. But the math was always broken. Training these models costs millions, running them costs millions more, and the revenue, nowhere near enough. So how did the industry's absolute hottest companies end up in a position where they have to fire thousands of brilliant engineers just to stay alive? That's exactly what we're unpacking today. Fast forward to late 2022, ChatGPT launches. Suddenly, AI isn't theoretical anymore, it's real. It talks like a person. And overnight, investors lose their minds. Billions of dollars start flooding into AI startups. Literally every venture capital fund is asking, where's our AI play? Engineers who were happy at Google suddenly quit to chase unicorn valuations. People with barely a product pitch raise $50 million. Universities open AI labs. Tech companies quadruple their research budgets. Between 2023 and 2024, major AI companies hired at a pace we'd never seen before. Not just engineers, researchers, policy experts, marketing teams, entire support structures. The assumption was obvious. These models are going to be worth trillions. Whoever figures out the business model first wins everything. So companies made an enormous bet. They gambled that even if models were expensive to run today, soon they'd figure out how to make them cheap, or they'd crack artificial general intelligence and nothing else would matter anyway. The future looked guaranteed, certain, inevitable. They hired for a future that was supposed to arrive by 2024, maybe 2025, definitely by 2026. But something went wrong. The technology got better. The hype grew massive. But the business model never materialized. And in 2026, that dream finally collided with reality. Let's talk about the core problem. Running a large language model costs an absolute fortune. Every time someone uses ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, the company has to pay for compute power. A single query costs money. A typical token, that's roughly 4 characters of text, costs somewhere between 0.0001 and $0.001 to generate. It doesn't sound like much, but at scale, it's brutal. Think about it this way, ChatGPT serves millions of users every single day. If just 10% have conversations that use 50 tokens, that's millions of dollars in compute cost. Every single day, no exaggeration. Now here's the kicker, most users pay nothing. Free accounts outnumber paid subscribers by a massive margin. The companies subsidizing all that free usage are banking on monetizing eyeballs eventually. But there's a math problem. Even paid users don't pay enough to cover the compute cost. ChatGPT Plus is $20 a month. That works out to less than $1 per day. But a single power user running queries all day can cost the company $5 or more in compute. The company is losing money on every paid subscriber. Google had a quarterly AI compute bill in the billions. Anthropic burns cash like a wildfire. Meta is spending insane amounts because they are terrified of falling behind. None of them are making enough revenue to cover these costs. The infrastructure is fundamentally unsustainable. That's the powder keg. By late 2025, the cracks started showing. OpenAI realized they couldn't keep burning money like this forever. They'd already raised billions, most recently at a $200 billion valuation. But that money only lasts so long when your burn rate is absolutely insane. OpenAI cut 20% of staff, thousands of people. Anthropic followed shortly after. Then Meta announced plans to cut AI research teams. Google started consolidating divisions. All of them claim they're still committed to AI. But they're all saying the same thing, we overextended. But here's what makes this moment genuinely scary. These are the companies with the most resources. If OpenAI and Anthropic can't figure out how to be profitable, what chance do smaller AI companies have? There are hundreds of startups that raised money between 2023 and 2024, betting they could get acquired or reach profitability before their runway ended. For most of them, that runway ends in 2026 or 2027, and now their potential acquirers are all cutting budgets. The narrative shifted overnight. 6 months ago, every tech company wanted to buy AI teams. Now they are figuring out how to cut AI spending without looking like they're abandoning the future. The dominoes started falling. Series C and D startups that looked hot just months earlier are running out of options. Some shut down completely. Others did massive layoffs. The desperate ones are looking anywhere for survival. You might be thinking this sounds like the dot-com bubble or the crypto crash. And there are surface similarities: massive hype, unsustainable valuations, layoffs, companies running out of money. But the mechanics are fundamentally different. In dot-com, companies were unprofitable because they were spending on growth and infrastructure. They were investing in a future that might never arrive. But the math was theoretically fixable. Get users, cut costs, and unit economics could work. With AI, it's different. The fundamental problem isn't hype versus reality. It's that the laws of physics, or at least the laws of silicon and electricity, aren't cooperating. Semiconductor costs are what they are. Inference compute is expensive. There's no magic shortcut. Dot-com companies failed because they built things nobody wanted. AI companies built things everybody wants, but demand isn't enough to justify the cost. That's much harder to fix. Here's the crucial difference. Previous busts destroyed failed startups and the people who backed them. This crash is taking down the winners. The companies with the best products, best engineers, most capital. If they can't figure out profitability, the second and third tier has almost no chance. The old playbook was winners survive and consolidate. This time, the winners are the ones in trouble. That's the real wake-up call, when even the strongest companies can't make the math work. You know the problem isn't execution. It's the fundamental business model itself. So what happens next? Here's where the story gets darker. AI startups are already feeling massive pressure. A year ago, if you had a decent team and an AI idea, funding doors opened immediately. Now those doors are closing fast. Series of rounds that seemed locked are now on hold. Some are cancelled entirely. Companies that looked like they'd make it to Series C are scrambling for bridge funding or acquisition talks. The middle tier, companies with solid products but not enough revenue to justify their costs, the tier gets absolutely decimated. We're already seeing it. Companies that seemed safe 6 months ago are shutting down. The talent drain is brutal. If you're a talented AI engineer and your startup doesn't have 2 years of runway, you're probably looking for a safer job right now. But here's the scary part. A lot of that talent is leaving AI entirely. Some people are burnt out from false promises and hype. Some are taking jobs at less flashy companies that have stable revenue. Some are starting companies in completely different fields. The brain drain to other industries is just starting. Meanwhile, the mega-cap tech companies are consolidating. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, they can survive this downturn. They'll buy up the best teams from failing startups for cheap. They'll absorb the research. They'll come out the other side with even more control of AI. It's the classic pattern. Economic pressure kills innovation at the edges and rewards incumbents. That's where things get genuinely dangerous. Here's the million-dollar question. What does sustainable AI actually look like? There are a few paths forward. The first is pure efficiency, making everything cheaper. Inference optimization is the huge play here. Right now, companies are working on quantization, model distillation, and specialized chips that reduce compute cost per query. If someone can cut inference costs by half or 2/3, the math changes dramatically. That's worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The second is changing the business model entirely. Maybe the future isn't selling individual tokens or subscriptions. Maybe it's selling data preparation, custom fine-tuning, or enterprise contracts with guaranteed revenue. Companies that change away from pay per token and toward fixed revenue contracts have way better unit economics. The third is accepting that the models themselves need to change. The race toward bigger, more capable models might have been a mistake. Maybe the future is smaller, specialized models that are cheaper to run and more focused. A small model that solves 90% of what someone needs 90% of the time costs way less than a giant model. The fourth, and this is unpopular, is that not every AI company survives. That's actually fine. It's healthy. Companies that figure out sustainable business models win. Companies that don't go away or get acquired. That's how markets work. The winners will be the ones who crack one of these problems before their money runs out. Efficiency, business model innovation, right-sizing the models, or accepting consolidation. One of these has to work. So what's the takeaway here? The AI revolution isn't dead, but it's entering a new phase, more mature, harder, less hyped. The companies that survive this downturn will be ones with real business models and real paths to profitability. That's actually good news. It means the AI that sticks around is AI that genuinely solves problems, not just AI that captured VC attention and headlines. For people building AI, this is the moment to ask, am I solving a real problem? Does the unit economics work? Can I make this sustainable? If the answer is yes, you're in a strong position. If it's no, and a lot of AI companies are realizing the answer is no, it's time to pivot or find a safer home. For people investing in AI, the hype filter is finally working. Valuations are real now. You can look at an AI company and ask, will this actually be profitable? Instead of just betting on momentum. For everyone else, if you're using AI tools, this consolidation and efficiency push is actually great news. Cheaper inference means better tools for everyone. Specialized models mean AI that works better for your specific use case. The tools you're actually using are about to get way better because the industry is finally forced to focus on what matters. Watch for the companies that crack efficient inference. Watch for ones that announce new business models. Those are going to be the real winners of the next few years. The powder keg is still there, but the explosions we are seeing now are part of the shakeout, and that's how industries mature.